On the robot. Okay. Hi, everyone. This is the Phenotype Working Group meeting. This is the first time we're convening after Phenotype February. And this is, Gautam like to say, this is the second Friday of the month meeting. So we have the following agenda. But before I start, I see all the familiar names. But anybody new who would like to introduce themselves to the working group? Oh, Christian Reich is here.
You want me to introduce myself?
No, but you have not shown up to this working group for a while.
Yeah, Friday at 9. Friday at 9 is a hostile attack on my calendar. That's the problem. My many calendars, I have more than one. That's the problem. That's my problem.
Because this group meeting time is a good reflection of the journey of the community. So new people come with a lot of attention, with a lot of enthusiasm. So we change things to accommodate their work, and then they disappear. Other new people come, and we keep moving.
Don't change it for me.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm just telling. It's just because it used to be at 11 Friday or something, and then we moved it. Yeah, but anyways.
For the time. So.
But okay. It's Odyssey. We got new blood and we've changed, and then we got another group. Okay. So on our agenda today, this is the first time we're convening at Phenotype February. The Phenotype February that Lily and led most of the work. We had reflections and kind of follow-up things that we want to improve on terms of phenotyping, process science that we need to work on before the symposium. So wanted to go over if there's any specific questions remaining for specific cohorts from the study leads, I believe, and then Anna can tell us where things are. I believe everything is finished, done from phenotyping perspective. And we have the last run of cohort diagnostic, but Anna will tell us. The main deliverable that needs to go, and we need to make sure that we follow up on the steps. And Gautam, I know you're busy, so you need to tell us what you need. Maybe somebody else can take the lead, but we need to follow up with the submissions to the library. We need to communicate clearly with the study leads what they need to do step by step. Like we need one step of how to get it to the librry. We have a lot of documentation for this cohort. So let me just go over things. Let me go over things and then we go. We need, out of what was clearly obvious, we told everybody to use the prompt for the clinical descriptions, but that prompt was technically not updated and outdated. And we learn a lot of how can we improve it. So we need to improve that prompt and put it on the books instead of keep telling people to go to that forum post that has an old prompt, or we ditch the idea, but we can't keep telling people we have a prompt and it's outdated. And we have inputs now from the study leads of how we can improve the prompt. We could totally improve our exposure cohort process. Many people made mistakes as we were doing the cohort, not mistakes, but like not good practices for the exposure cohorts. So let's just create a shell of a cohort atlas definition for exposure and have it documentation with it that tell people what are the parameters they need to think about when they create drug cohorts. Instead of everybody doing this from scratch, we can just standardize this a little bit more. Anna and me and Senna and you went through the pain of getting cohort diagnostics to run when you have all those cohorts and pushing it into Shiny. And it was clear that you don't need all this data, especially when you run across data study leads that actually don't have data, and they just want to know what's the counts, if this is leading anything. And so we can have like a light cohort diagnostic that can run and retrieve data within hours and not days, that can then give them feedback quickly on what they need to adjust in their cohorts instead of waiting days and then only to know that their cohort is retrieving nobody. Yeah, and then we want to talk about the publication that you're leading and how we can get collaboration on it. We need to follow up on Cypher submissions. I'm hoping the VA people are here at least. No, I think they're in EMEA. They're busy in EMEA, but if Katie is here, we can talk about the Cypher submissions. And then Andrew had the question for HSV anterior uveitis phenotype. And then Richard and Jintong has a follow-up on the potentially inappropriate medication use phenotypes. Okay. Anybody else has any topic? Okay, let's dig further. Anna, are we done with Phenotype February cohorts? Is the cohort diagnostic that was published was the last one? Any follow-up with study leads that we need to do?
We're gonna run another one this weekend with the remainings, but other than that, we're done.
And they think that those remainings are the final ones? Could we think,
Yep.
Is that that package will contain all the JSONs for,
Yep.
Could we, okay. So we will assume that package of cohort diagnostic will be our reference of truth for the final cohort.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So should I put them in the are the definitions that you're going to run in your last run of cohort diagnostics? Can I put that in the library and then use the library IDs for your run so that it becomes the permanent ID for the guideline study?
Sure, of course.
And now, right now, you're calling it from the demo, or the IDs from Atlas demo, or you created copies in our own instance, J&J, to run cohort diagnostics?
This is a demo.
Okay, so the ID you have are so Gautam, it might be confusing for the study leads. It might be easier for them if the cohort diagnostic ID is actually the one in the demo, because they might still make changes.
Okay, so don't put that in the library yet.
No, I think it could be in the library, but because given that those are going to, there's still work, like they're going to keep working on their studies. No, I think they need to collaborate in the demo Atlas.
Yeah, the point is the guideline study should use the Phenotype Library as the source of truth, right? That's at least that's what we're trying to do. We don't want the Atlas demo to be the source of truth. So if that means the final version that goes into the study package should be in the OHDSI Phenotype Library, and the study package should source from the OHDSI Phenotype Library. So the question on the table is it ready for? Can I incorporate that into the OHDSI Phenotype Library now, and then create a cohort diagnostic package that Anna can run, or continue to use the Atlas demo cohort IDs, wait till they tweak it further, and before creating the guidelines package, study package, we import it from the Atlas demo into the OHDSI Phenotype Library and lock it there. The OHDSI Phenotype Library is where we lock the definitions.
Well, I think the packages reference SQL and JSON files rather than Web API. So I feel like whenever they create a package, which I don't know what the process is right now, but I would assume that they at certain point will create packages, and those packages will have JSONs. So maybe we can, when they do that, we know that it's final, and we can grab that and put it in the Phenotype Library. But I'm actually not quite sure, because I don't know what the subsequent steps are now. Like, are we creating packages? What are we doing? I'm not fully sure.
Who's creating the guidelines packages?
I mean, if it's network studies, somebody has to, but I don't know who.
Okay. So the person who's creating the guidelines package could embed the code definitions, JSONs in the guidelines package itself, or create a dependency to the OHDSI Phenotype Library. And if they create a dependency to the OHDSI Phenotype Library, then all they have to do is import it from the OHDSI Phenotype Library with the version number, which is the future state that we are going towards.
I think Chris wants to say something. Let's listen from study leads.
Hi guys. Good to see everybody. I agree that the phenotype library should be kind of the final resting place for a lot of these things, because it's always a little concerning that anyone can kind of go in and change your phenotype in the Atlas demo instance. So having like a locked phenotype in the library is appealing. I would vote for waiting for now, especially given Anna's going to run another cohort diagnostics run this weekend. We might react to that and make further tweaks next week. So I think eventually I agree with that, but maybe not right now.
Okay, yeah. So and I think that yeah, the Chris's point is fine. One, it's probably still not final. Second, the study, if you think of all those cohorts as part of a process of a network study, we're very early on in that process. Now they're gonna go into like data fitness. I'm just feeling that you need to have the cohorts in a place where people can collaborate on, and and the only place is that cohort demo right now, Atlas demo, because they can't really collaborate inside the other Atlas. Voitage?
Yeah, just a brief follow-up on what Christopher said. I posted on the forum and I tried it and it worked eventually after I cleared some errors with the Caper package or other packages supporting it. But one way to mitigate the problem that somebody can change my definition is to there are two ways how I can build up a phenotype library. Either I use the graphical user interface and I build up my phenotype. For power users, another option is that my phenotype is always constructed from using Caper or using some other code, which is hard to mess with or harder to mess with, which would be immune to this like accidental edits because you simply build it up from scratch. I tried it with some our cohorts are really complex, but others really is just a combination of really like a very good value sets and using that value set. So just putting it out there that in the past several years, the phenotype work group was functioning around the GUI thing, but I think it's a good thing to offer an alternative to that and nurture this approach of, I will define my cohort using, 7 lines of codes and which are harder to tamper with.
Sure. Okay, so in terms of logistics, let's do the following. We still have another cohort diagnostic run, so we're clearly not ready for even called almost done for the library. And I would say let's wait for, in any case, let's use cohort diagnostic run and the tracker that Anna has as our version control mechanism that will have the IDs and because the package itself also contains the JSON, so that would be the place to make sure that the JSONs, the definitions didn't change for those who built them using the demo atlas. And then let's go through March, where people are gonna discuss the fitness of use and the other data network that might be part of the runs. And I think after that we can go back to the study leads and whoever is confident that that's a final, and at the time of building the packages for the final studies, that's the time where we discuss where's the final version of the cohort. It goes to the library and either the package calls from the library, or we make sure that whatever in the library is what the package calls for. So we have two dependencies: final run, no more changes, finished data network kind of March steps that Patrick and Claire and everybody is doing. That will lead to the final study packages. At this point, we lock the cohorts in the study packages simultaneously with the library, and one will depend on the other. We'll discuss at that point which is the primary and which one comes first. And Will? I see a hand. Is it Will? Or
Oh, apologies.
I can't. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't have anything. My mistake. Didn't do the hand raise.
Oh, okay. Okay, no problem. Okay, and then Gautam, does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I captured it here. Slide.
Okay. Any study lead? I only see any study lead who has any specific question. Or Anna, do you know if there's any specific questions still pending for specific cohorts in the studies?
No, I don't think so. Because the questions will resolve. Then they resulted in this new run for diagnostics. I don't think there is anything outstanding right now.
Do you have enough documentation, like all the required elements?
So we have clinical description from everybody.
There's something else in it?
Yeah, the only thing that we documented systematically and we asked people to definitely do is the clinical description, Gautam. After that,
These items have been captured then. So like we know some high-level logic description, the data sources that it was evaluated on, which is the CohortDiagnostics, and some insights from the phenotype evaluation. Some high level.
I don't think any of that is documented in terms of text.
Okay, so these would be the items that are missing if you want a complete documentation. Okay.
And how do you feel about if study leads had to like provide notes on their cohorts?
On the last call, we suggested that it's good practice to document what you found. I don't think anybody has done it yet, or to be precise, we have not systematically collected it. If we want to do that, we can send another email, of course, and push them further to do that, but that's subject to their time and availability.
Yeah, so in prior network studies, when we did phenotypes for actual network studies, like when we did it in the syphilis challenge, we asked that we have like we didn't. So like we have a pad because those were gonna go for publications. So we had like the paragraph about the definition that would go to the publication written up at the time of the phenotype work. So like for Cindy, she and I eventually wrote like 5 sentences that went to the paper about what is the definition and how we come to it and what's our main insights about it. Maybe because those are everybody's aiming for publication, we ask for something like that.
Yeah, we can do that. We can ask them, of course. Absolutely.
Gautam, in terms of the library and documentation, like there is a common context that maybe that all those definitions will have. Like we know the research question for each phenotype, and we know the clinical description. So that already gives you like the context that can be synthesized quickly. That I think needs to go with the submission anyways. What we will be missing is like specific insights from the evaluation itself, which I think if we ask people to write like 2-3 sentences, they're like basically their final like insights.
Why do they think it's final?
Exactly. Why it's fresh now, it might be doable. They have to do that if they're really aiming for publications anyways. They have to write the outcome definition section.
I think the bar that you're asking is very low. I think it's a reasonable ask.
Yeah, so let's just ask them and see what we get.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Maybe we go back.
We
Okay,
finished this one topic.
Okay, the clinical description prompt. Gautam, do you have any, like, did you discuss this with your team? You were.
Yeah, so the way I tried to improve the clinical description prompt, there is a publicly facing prompt right now, and that is heavily pharmacovigilance oriented. My take based on observations in today in the Phenotype February is the prompt is useful, but we need a library of prompts that is based on the research intent, and also some other things. So I've given it some thought, um, I've, and I've documented that as part of another work. Let me see if I can pull that up. Stop sharing and just show it to you. And that will be the input for the prompt engineering. So that new idea is the reason I stopped sharing is because I have I don't want to share some confidential stuff by mistake. Here. So this is the Phenotype work group page, and I wrote up the learnings with Aza's help on clinical descriptions as semantic anchors, a best practice for the OHDSI phenotype development. And I would like people who are study leads and who are interested in this topic to look at this document. And I think that this will help create a new set of prompts that would iterate with the study leads on trying to anchor on the clinical idea. So I'm going to paste this one here and ask for feedback from study leads, and then that I think will be the input for the next step of re-engineering the study prompt.
Yeah, we could do that, but I wondered if there's a better mechanism. Instead of thinking about it as a scholar, like what it looks like, it's more of a conceptual thinking written on a, like a description of something. We can operationalize this slightly and simplify it. What if we have a forum post open that saying one of our, like, basically instead of having this full document, having one paragraph that say one of our main learning from Phenotype February was the importance of the clinical intent, and the need for a clinical description that reflects that. And while we're using the technology to create GenAI to create clinical description, we found that it's outdated and it can be slightly better engineered. And we want to start like an initiative to do prompt engineering, and see if people would like to contribute to that. And for that, Gautam, like, we can simplify this. Like, the steps would be what exactly the prompt need to include, and then and use the prompt monkey thing to kind of like just go into a systematic process of improving the prompt, and maybe have like 3 different prompts depending on it's a drug cohort or a condition cohort or a procedure cohort, which I know you covered all of that. But instead of taking an approach of let's write about this, why don't we go into figure out the solution for this?
Yeah, I think we're on the same page, Azad. This would be the forum post, and more shorter version of this would be the forum post. But yes, the focus is on the solution. I think the problem has been clearly articulated, or so we can definitely work on the solution based on that.
Yeah, Anna, are you active in are you following with the GenAI or LLM working group?
I am attending their meetings.
Yes, I am.
What is your question?
No, is that a thing that we can collaborate on? Because that's a low-hanging fruit.
course.
The
we can,
AI group was
absolutely.
quite focused on developing new things, not necessarily like power usage of the existing, let's say, prompt optimizations. But not that there wouldn't be maybe some people interested in it, but that wasn't. Again, they're into things like learning the LLM from the whole EHR and from the codes, and
Yeah, I
for
understand.
example, Stanford is working on that. So much, I would say, much more grandiose
Yeah,
ambitions and projects.
yeah.
We can collaborate. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we can just open it. It's just like maybe just do a forum post and see. It's a simple thing, but it's practical.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We can collaborate. Of course.
Yeah.
And we can
Okay.
do prompt wizard easily.
Yeah.
So
I think
next,
it's a straightforward problem to solve, as it's.
I know, but we have many so straightforward problem, and we just never solve them, and then we always, and we get like the steering committee initiate network studies, and we still have old prompts. And like, if we're gonna advocate for the process, let's just at least do our homework, even on the simple stuff.
Yeah, I got it. I'll take this on. This will.
So
We'll try.
yeah, so the next step is just to do a forum post to make sure if there's like somebody who would like to help in the prompt engineering. If not, we can, between us, we can just get it done.
Do you have have we captured the feedback of the study leads from last month's experience?
I captured the main problems, which is maybe we can. So we had the problem with like it's not suitable for procedures and drugs. That's like the main thing. And then the other thing is that the pharmacovigilance, because it asks about drug-induced conditions. Those are the main three things. And then the fourth thing, which is I can link with the obesity group, that they were saying they didn't find it useful, and maybe we can talk more with them of what exactly they were looking for and why they were.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the third one? Okay.
They just didn't like it. Didn't we were talking about clinical descriptions, but in an absence of a clinical intent, they didn't find it useful.
Yeah, the clinical intent is research intent, actually. Yeah, got it.
Okay. Let's.
Right. Next topic is Atlas shells.
Yeah, I'll put this on. Where is this is I'll put this on me. Next step, I'll create those shells. Where is the best place to host those? Should we put that in the Phenotype Library as a template, or should we put it in Atlas Demo?
Atlas Demo, like Chris said, is open to anybody, and anybody can modify it. I think the library is a good place.
But then, so what I'm thinking of a forum post just so people are aware of it, and just say here are the shells for anytime you want to create a cohort for drugs, and these are the parameters you will need to change, and that's it, and just put it and reference it there. But the question is,
That's
if
also
it's,
not.
but if it's in the library, again, people can't like actually see it. They will see a JSON, but they are not able to see it in an atlas.
Okay, so as one potential solution is we create the template and put that in Phenotype Library, and then we reference that with in the forum post, and we give. So when you put that here, we have an ID. In the forum post, we reference the ID and paste the JSON, so everybody can use it, and that will become a hybrid of both. If you want, you can source it from the library, or you can just copy it from the forum. And here's some cookbooks with examples.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah, and then it'll stay there forever. We'll reference it in the book of Odyssey. That's how we create cohort atlas for drugs. Go back to forum post number, blah, blah,
blah. It's actually not that funny because that question will come up. What in the book, and what should be outside, referred to as outside content, and what's the key piece that you want to push into the book, because you can't have a whole in-depth vignette in there, right? So it has to be to be the key points, so people know what they should be doing, and then they can look further.
Yeah, the book of Odyssey, the forum.
Yeah, I was joking. We're not going to reference in the book posts.
Exactly.
That would be endless, go. So
exactly.
There are millions of posts in there. Okay. So I got the task to do. You will start the forum post on the clinical description prompt update, and I'll start the one on a shells for drug cohorts. I'll create them and also send them to you, and then I'll pass them through Patrick to make sure that they're QC'd. Okay. I think we finished follow-up on Phenotype February. Yeah, light cohort diagnostic package specification is a big discussion. I don't know if we should just table it and invite people on one of our meetings just to discuss what could be the package. Have people I think we need a bigger discussion for that. Unless anybody like Chris Voitage, since you went through the exercise of I don't know, building cohorts and stuff, do you have any immediate reflection of what would be useful to have in a lighter package of cohort diagnostics?
I actually didn't find it was too time intensive. At least the several times that I opened it. I don't know if I just got lucky. If we are tweaking it, one thing that does come to mind is, this might be a non-starter, but it'd be very helpful to customize some of the time windows. Right now they're constrained, -1 to -30, 1 to 30. But if you want to know a given concept's frequency, -30 to +30, there's no way of doing that. And that might be of interest to people. So I don't know whether we should offer additional time windows, or if it's even possible to provide the ability to kind of customize it a little bit to an extent. That probably is going to go the other way and slow things down. But when we were evaluating our cohorts, I really wanted the ability to do that, and I couldn't.
Yeah, this is a tutorial. This is an existing functionality, Chris, that exists already. It's just you don't know how to do it because it's not documented anywhere, and nobody has told you. I know how to do it because I wrote the package. So yes, I can show you. So we can make that tutorial.
But Gautam, currently in your code to run for cohort diagnostic, there's no line where you can specify the time. So it's not as parameters. It's hidden. It's under the hood. But it's easy. It's easy to adjust. It's very easy to tell people what timeline should we run those characterizations on, because it's very easy to as part of running the package, you can add a line of code that does this.
Okay.
But currently, it's not a parameter. Currently, it's a defaulted.
Yeah.
But I don't think we should create so many timelines and put them as options to run by default, because that usually, because now the drop down is very long and people don't even understand what's on the drop down. So the reason why it's not time consuming in terms of looking at the data that comes to it, but if we want to do things large scale, it is long time to actually run. So in many cases, Chris, you have your own instance of OMAP, right? So you would do things and run and check things like just if that makes sense on the fly using Atlas. If you don't have that instance, you can't really know. You will have to run, like we have some studies that had to run the entire package of CohortDiagnostics just to understand like if they should use this exclusion criteria or that exclusion criteria. The iteration part of it is not currently, it's not meant for iteration. It's really meant for, okay, you're good, you did your first passes and now you want to run. There's a vision that CohortDiagnostics should be something similar to Atlas, where it runs on the fly and gives you feedback on the fly. And that's doable if we don't run a full characterization with it.
Yeah. So it should be for a person who's a study lead and is working with a data partner. They must be able to create, execute, and get response from the data partner within minutes or hours instead of the current one where they wait for days. And that's the problem we're trying to solve.
Yeah.
Would it be possible to put some hooks in the existing package during the next run just to see how long each component takes so that we can have some objective breakdown of what low-hanging fruit to prune from the package might be?
Yes, so that's an existing functionality in the logs. Review log. So the logs gives you timestamps with runtimes for each module. We know where the modules are running. It takes time. One option could just be switching off certain things and running it. There's several ways to think about this, Bill. But the logs are not exposed to you because the logs stay at the data partner's site. But when you run it on your instance in Johns Hopkins, you can see the log.
Yes, we can see those. I mostly meant as far as reporting those back. So if the issue is we're running this on large groups that it's taking days to execute, that way we can get some metric reporting back from these sites to see where the sites were choking.
Right.
And if it comes down to on certain data sets, one or two functions are taking up the majority of that time, then we could make those optional if they're non-critical.
Yeah, I think like we can turn for if you break it down into lighter steps. Step one could be just get counts, maybe index event breakdown, and incidence rate stability. So are on, off are characterization. Even this actually takes time. There's a context. So these are off. So that will be light one. Then you go to what you do with this is, are we getting counts? I don't want to wait 5 days to know that I'm getting 0 people or 5 people, which just makes sense. Am I having dramatic shift in a year? That's it. Those are the 2 things you look for. In light 2, you solve that and you switch on index event breakdown. Maybe visit context, but you still keep characterization off.
I wonder if we could also maybe follow a more of a reflex methodology. So rather than switching this on and off, we just make it so that the package executes more progressively. So if the counts are below a certain threshold, then we have a hard stop rather than moving on. So potentially the entire package could run on a good cohort, but it may only take a few seconds and then not execute the remaining steps if it's a bad cohort with no counts.
Great idea. Love it.
But I could see from a collaboration standpoint, it would be a lot of, I think, unnecessary back and forth if we're having to kind of progressively have a site alter and run different versions of it, if we could somehow encapsulate that.
Yeah, that would be nice. Another approach I've been thinking of with cohort diagnostics, the idea of it is that you generate certain descriptions, and that give you on, like, you can test it against some expectation or a priori. But currently, or the approach when Martin originally designed that was it's all by all. So you get all the characterization and then you start digging. The more you use this approach of like, just get me some descriptive, and the more you use it, you kind of start selecting, you have better idea of what descriptives you're actually going to look at, like what features you're actually going to look at. So we don't really need a all by all approach. What you could switch the thinking of, if you can specify those priorities, then we can run them. So if instead of looking for features, or instead of looking of every single concept set, think of this as a mini characterization package, which currently Atlas does very nicely. If you use the GUI and you can specify what features you want, there's some standard features from the vocabulary that comes in, and there's some custom that one you can build. But you can like basically design your characterization and hit run in Atlas, and it takes about it takes about sometimes 15 minutes, and it creates for you a super nice report that tells you all the features that you already identified, with a super nice table and everything. So I actually, in the last year, have been using characterization featured in Atlas as a cohort diagnostics. But it needs some thinking as a priority, because like I have to think of the phenotype and what exactly I want to look at it. If I'm looking at immunology outcomes, I will think about, okay, here are the things that I should be looking at, and then I specify them. So it's, but it runs faster, and then the data I have is more targeted. So that's another approach of thinking of a light cohort diagnostic. It gives you counts, it gives you those main things, but when it comes to the full table of characterizations, you can specify for certain features, and then time, and also time windows, which we actually have the functionality in another tool right now. Like Atlas does this very nicely. You just need to know that it actually exists in Atlas.
Yeah, actually, what you're talking about, Asa, is like a feature cohort, because we have an a priori assumption that certain conditions should coexist. You create a feature cohort, which does not have to have a great performance characteristics, but you only run the feature cohort as part of the characterization, instead of the full concept ID counts, and that's much more faster. Ooh, that's a good one.
We can even have like a standard, what in the past, I think people would call it like table one. And then now they killed table one, like pretty table one. But yeah. So for next steps, let's, I'll put the agenda for one of the coming meetings to just discuss cohort diagnostic update, and I'll invite people who are either on the evaluation side and also like JPAG and the owners of the actual package right now. And maybe we can have like a brainstorming.
All right.
Okay.
Publications.
Yeah, we don't have the study lead. So maybe Gautam, you want to talk about the idea of this publication, and I'll talk about what is needed.
So which one do we want to have talk about?
The regulatory one, the analysis. So
yeah. All right. So Let me stop sharing, bring it up, and I will.
Chris, did you have any? Is the paper still under review? Any updates? Well, I can pull this.
Yeah, still under review.
Okay, that's good. That means it's probably going to be reviewed, not rejected off the bat.
Well, it was transferred to their sister journal. But that was somewhat anticipated. So
yeah. Okay.
Okay, so this is in the OHDSI Phenotype Workgroups Teams channel. It's right now I've written a first draft for it. This is it is written in the format of a structured review with the method section, and the result section, and a discussion section. The intent here is to compare what regulators expect to what OHDSI does. And the message is that the OHDSI Phenotype Development Evaluation Framework is conformant with the regulatory guidance from FDA, EMA, and other regulators like the Canadian and Japanese. So to do this, first we did a literature search to find the regulatory guidance and collate them. And then we did one-to-one comparison between what the regulators are asking for and what OHDSI is doing for it. And then we provide a discussion in the form of a desideratum. So these are the things that the regulators are asking. Here is the details of what they're asking and how does OHDSI align with it. There are quotes from actual regulatory documents justifying it. Here's some examples. So if you look at, we emphasize this clinical description a lot in OHDSI. Well, if a new person comes here and they would make a comment as to why this onerous task, what is this? This is kind of not meaningful. But it mirrors FDA guidance. FDA guidance here, which I'm highlighting, says should include conceptual definitions for important study variables and an operational definition based on those concepts. Well, that could be translated as an OHDSI clinical description template. They also say that purely code-based definitions without clinical rationale is inconsistent with the intent. And so what I've done in this paper is to call those ideas from regulators and then compare it again with OHDSI. There's comments about, so in terms of structuring, we've fit those into phenotype development and phenotype evaluation. What do regulators talk in terms of phenotype development, and what do regulators talk in terms of phenotype evaluation? So they do expect certain things to be done for validation, and they do say that chart review is probably the best, but they know at the same time that it is not possible, especially de-identified data sets and these large data sets, and you cannot do full validation. You cannot get sensitivity, specificity, and negative predictive value. You can only get positive predictive value in chart reviews. So they are open for innovative and different alternatives. And the bar that the regulator seems to have set is you need to do your due diligence on this. And OHDSI framework conforms with this. And that I've tried to summarize all of those into this table. So that's where this paper is. If this paper gets accepted someplace, it'll be really nice because you're essentially going towards a future state where 4 definitions that have been built using the OHDSI Phenotype Development Evaluation Framework is considered to be regulatory grade. In other words, acceptable for regulatory decision making. And that'll be very powerful.
I agree. I like this idea a lot. and it'd be wonderful to cite this, where would you try to submit this?
I don't know yet.
So this
This is some.
yeah, would be something for like informatics, real world evidence kind of journals, or regulatory so there's like
Here's the articles. Here's what I thought maybe.
so the one thing that is currently missing is it's nice because it gives that framework and it does this analysis. We need to have like maybe 3 or 4 working examples of like phenotypes and show how these artifacts look like and how they're actually consistent with what is required. So without examples, it's hard to fully articulate. But if we have this, and then we have like the result itself will be like, here's how this look like for developing and evaluating a definition for maybe just 3 examples and just like walk through the artifacts. And it doesn't even have to be new. Like it could technically do any of the phenotypes that we already published and then just like put them in that framework and reference those papers. And then it won't even be a new work. It will be just like, and we have like at least 5 or 6 phenotype like papers that were published out of phenotype definition that followed the process and have like their artifacts published. Or we could use like the ones that like the one we just worked on, Chris, with you. We can like put that here to just in a just explain how this confirms with that.
Yeah, I'm happy to contribute.
That's great. That's great, Chris. You are the way you wrote the paper on dermatomyosite is clean, straight to the point. That was phenomenal. Thank you. So your contribution, absolutely welcome.
Yeah, can we see? Yeah, Gautam, you said you had the table of the journals.
Yeah. So value in health, implementation science. These I've not validated this actually. This is that tool that Martin wrote about target journals, so that I used to create this. I don't know if some of these I've not heard of. So I asked for mid-tier journals. Maybe it's hallucinating, but it's a good starting point.
It's like here you have like the BMC methodology. That's a good place.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like method, but more like regulatory grade. There's a whole discipline called regulatory grade research,
Science. Yeah.
regulatory science. So it would go to that.
These are all PubMed indexable.
That would be a minimum requirement. If it's not PubMed indexable, we shouldn't be submitting to them.
They are because he Martin tool pulls out of only PMID indexable. Yeah.
Sure.
We have Voitage as well. Okay, so the next step would be just figuring out the examples and line them up. So we have something from Chris, and we can ask around and Voitage. Yeah, we need like 3 or 4 examples, and then we'll write them, and then we'll circulate the paper. Okay. I actually don't see. I want to make sure I don't see Ben. Actually, is Ben here? Oh, Andrew is here.
Yes, hello. I'm here.
Sorry. We're still gonna Gautam. Let's just use the time, and I can say with you too, to discuss the uveitis. HS. Yeah, can we go back to our agenda? Yeah, HSV anterior uveitis. So Andrew, you sent me the last cohort, correct?
Yeah, I sent that over email.
Okay, and stay with me. I'm gonna run it right in front of you right now.
Are you gonna share your screen?
Yeah, I'm just first. I want to find the email before I share my screen with all my joke. With all the, here we go.
Bank account numbers, huh?
Yeah. So you relaxed the criteria eventually?
Yeah, we did a little bit. We also made some a lot of edits to just the logic. Like how I mean, remember you mentioned about how specifically for the PCR tests, like the current logic that we had wouldn't really, because of the way how billing data sets are, we didn't have any CPT codes, and so we made a lot of changes to our concept sets and then how our logic pulled the data and so forth. So hoping to get a little bit more patience.
And Andrew, let me ask you a question. Is there any other cohort in Atlas demo that you would also want to run? Any other version? Anything else other than this?
The main one right now.
Yeah, but do you have anything else that would be useful if you see the counts to any other iteration, anything else you built that you would also want to see how it looks in databases?
Not for now.
Okay. So I will.
So you may want to be not sharing your screen if you have other cohorts that you don't want public.
No, I'm just going to show how I'm going to copy and get and run it. I'm not doing anything.
Okay.
That was Atlas demo.
No, you're in J.
Yeah, now I'm going to Epi, but all of it I'm going to do it is that I'm going to bring it to our instance and run it and DoD and look at the attrition. We just want to see how it, we're just running it and just see the attrition.
Thanks.
That's why we need a light cohort diagnostics, because then we don't need to do that step, and it would be like just a package. Okay. Oh, see, now we have it. Okay. And it was DoD, or Optum EHR is the one we're assessing it in.
Optum DoD.
I also ran it in EHR, right? Because we're expecting.
Yeah, I think just to see if there's a difference.
Okay, that might take a few minutes. We can just look at the logic while it runs. So now we have all these different entry criteria, and those are the specific diagnoses. And you guys went in, I still see source codes. Oh, we still have the same problem. So you're using here anterior chamber cell, and it's a non-standard, but we're not specifying a non-standard logic.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So here, so for this particular anterior uveitis condition, it includes a code that you guys specify as it's a non-standard. To be able for this particular part of the code to run, you need to specify a condition occurrence of a non-standard. So you will need something like this.
Would we want both the standard and because I think we do have a standard.
Yeah, you can have both.
Okay.
You can have both, but the problem is the logic doesn't specify right now.
Okay.
So you will have something like this. You will have where is it? Where is it? Yeah. So you have to say conditions occurrence of any condition where the condition source concept is now which one is that one?
Chamber cell.
Number what? They all look the same to me.
Oh,
this one? Is it this one?
No. Oh, actually, no. I think it was that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's this one.
There you
Yeah.
go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for this code to be actually captured, right now this piece of the logic will only capture where the condition is one of any of those. Because in the condition table, it has condition concepts and they're all standard. The condition table, though, has something called, is also mapped to condition source concept. And because this code, this one, the red one, is a source code, you have to tell the logic that look at the condition source concept as well, not only the condition. Because in the condition occurrences in the standard set, none of them have this guy. This guy exists on the source. So whenever you use a source, you just need to specify that in the logic.
Okay, I see.
But it's fine. Last time that code was not in there, but you maybe just add it. So you have. So this one includes measurement, and this is the measurement and a condition as well. And you have it here as a measurement. So, okay. So the measurement is fine, but you have the same problem where this guy is, this is a condition. So anterior chamber cell, this particular code is a condition, but also need to specify as a standard. So you will just need to add another one. We'll bring it up here. And we're going to add an attribute that says source code. And then anterior chamber. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah. So now this list has measurements and conditions. Some of these conditions, two of them are standard, one is source. So now we're capturing that. We're capturing the value, the measurement, and then you have all these values. And then, there was an observation. I don't see observation. Why do you have this logic? So this is an observation. So that means one of those domains need to be observation, but it doesn't look like you have an observation concept
here. It could
be.
Hey, Azza, I'm going to stop the recording because
yeah.
over time now.
Yeah.